Welcome, everybody, to the Tobin Gregory Show. I'm Jay Gregory.
Craig Tobin.
Nice to see everybody. In this podcast, we typically go into things that are important in the mortgage industry, real estate industry, some shenanigans, some sports, all the topics that are important to everybody out there. Today's going to be winging it. I kind of like winging it, Craig, because we get to just be, honest in opinions and conversation and not really even know what we're going to do.
I think we need to talk a little bit about the today and the now and people's expectations and what they're saying and
your shirt
and my shirt we'll get to later at the sports segment. Right now when you look at interest rates and homes and things of that nature, there's some people with doom and gloom and some people with high expectations of rates coming down and Fed's going to cut this and Fed's going to do that. And we already saw what happened when the Fed cut rates a month ago is rates went up 1% or plus. So at this point, what I think we need to instill in people is buy on the now. Don't expect rates to come down and wait for that rate to be at the number you want it to be. If you plan for the worst and rates get better, you'll be fine. But right now, budget for interest rates in the 7s. That's where we are. Outside of some government loans in the 6s, if you're paying no points on a conventional loan, you're in the 7s, somewhere between 7 1/8 and 7 5/8. So realistically, when you and I have customers right now that are doing the same thing, and they hate the rate, and the date the rate, marry the house scenario comes into play always. Just figure out your budget now based on rates in the 7s. Take a 7 1/4 or 7 1/2 rate. Plan out your budget to say, hey, can I afford this in the area I'm going to be looking based on property taxes? Also factor in homeowners insurance being higher than it used to be. So tack on an extra $50 to $100 a month for the homeowners insurance. If you're not putting 20% down, you got to factor in mortgage insurance unless it's a VA loan. So there's a lot of things that people need to look into. Is it in a PUD? Are you going to be paying a homeowners association for that home? There's things that people don't even consider. When they go on Zillow right now and they look up what their payment will be, well, guess what? That's based on 20% down. There's not all the factors in there. Maybe they're paying a point for the rate that Zillow is showing. So these are factors people need to take into consideration. Because if you're just waiting on that house and waiting on the rate to hit where you want it to be, it's not going to happen. If the rates do come down, and some people that said, well, maybe I'll float it a few weeks, and that's your prerogative. You can float it, but I'm the one person that'll always tell you I do enjoy gambling every now and again, but not when it comes to my mortgage payment. I'll go play blackjack, lose a few $100. But do you really want to gamble on your interest rate and hopefully lose 3/8? Because if you're trying to gain that eighth, you end up losing 3/8, and next thing you know, your payment's $150 a month more. So I feel like people right now don't worry about what's coming up with the Fed, because nobody knows that answer. They just don't.
I want to take some time to make this personal, because I know your passion's there, Craig, and I know that I can tell by the way you're talking, and I know that we deal with this on a daily basis. And I'm going to give a shameless plug here, because Craig and I came together to bring a lot to the market that we saw as deficiencies when it comes to people buying homes and getting into homes. We offer something called Rate Check, and we can do this without a credit pull. I mean, with a credit pull, but it's a soft credit pull, so it doesn't impact your credit. We can give you rates without doing a credit pull. We can get very well honed in on what your actual rate, payments, and everything will be by doing a soft credit pull, which is no impact to your credit, to compare. I can't talk specifically about where we are with rates because of regulations and that kind of stuff, but I can tell you that we brought this program to market to be able to compare with what you currently have with no cost and no impact to your credit, because we are that confident in what we can provide. We know where we are, and we see a lot of rates every day, and we know that we compete and beat 9 out of 10 roughly that we get the opportunity to provide an estimate for. And not only does that allow us to give you options and show what the options out there may be, but we can also tell you if there is a better option. If you come to us and you have something that's better than we can offer, which is rare, then we're going to let you know. Like, you've got a seller offer. For example, I'm going to give an example here with a builder that I'm currently working with. This builder has their own lender. And when you go to a builder, sometimes they push you into your own lender. But what this client didn't realize is they showed them a 5.6% interest rate. That's not out there. That's not available right now. I'm sorry. The conversation was, go ask them to provide you that locked. Have them lock that for you. Because we're talking 6 to 9 months out. And what this builder is doing is they're hoping that it's going to be somewhere in the 5s, 9, 12 months from now when they finish that home. It's a guess. And right now it's anybody's guess, like Craig was saying. We don't know what the volatility in the world and with things going on overseas and with all the things we deal with on a daily basis, where rates are going to be next month. To bet 6 to 9 months out is not realistic. And if you go, we'll call it fine print. If you go read the contract way back in the back, it tells them that they can charge 1 to 3 points for that rate. A point, just change the word points. Any kind of lending that you're dealing with, change the word point to percentage. It's what it is. Some lenders try to use that for job security and confusion and all these things. If you see points in any kind of conversation with a mortgage, it means percent. So what that means is if this person's buying a $400,000 home, they're telling them that, hey, this rate's going to be available. It's not locked, so they can change it and say, hey, I'm sorry, that rate wasn't locked. But if they can get you that rate and you fall in that parameter at that point in time, they can charge you up to 3% because the contract read 1 to 3 points, 1 to 3%. To secure that 5.6% interest rate, which is $12,000 just for that rate at the time of closing. So be very cautious and speak with someone that actually cares about you and is trying to bring something to market that allows you to shop, see what the rates really should be, and someone that's going to be honest and say, look, you got to look at this point of the contract, or you got to look for points, or you got to get it signed and actually have them lock you, because until your rate's locked, that's not your rate. That's just someone that might be selling you a bill of goods, to be honest. And we see a lot of stuff in our industry right now that people are doing that type of thing just to get the contract. So be very cautious, speak with someone reputable. And again, shameless plug, reach out to us just for the rate check so we can show you where you should be at or around realistically.
Now, the one thing I will tell you that is 100% guarantee for 6 to 9 months from now is that I will be on Team Travis. So, Team Travis, Kelsey, I'm a Chiefs fan now. Look, the Cowboys eventually come back to them when they get rid of management, Jerry Jones, the whole deal. So, if they ever get their stuff together, I'll once again go back and back the Cowboys. Right now, Team Travis. Saw Taylor Swift in concert. Amazing. Whether you like her, she didn't even say anything political. So she did her thing. She performed for 3.5 hours. Travis Kelce, one of the best tight ends of all time. Kansas City Chiefs. Andy Reid. I'm a huge fan of him. And if you think about me and the Dallas Cowboys, the reason I like Andy Reid is he's sticking it to the Eagles right now because he wins every year and he didn't do it on Philly. And now he's winning not on Philly. So that makes it a very easy transition for me. I did see Kansas City in the AFC Championship game last year here in Baltimore, so my fandom cannot be questioned. Team Travis.
I don't want to call you a bandwagon person, but
it's not
I'm
bandwagon.
I'm Team Josh Allen. We may not have the record that they have, but hey, we gave them their first L this week, so I'm ecstatic about that. We need to show up and play ball like that every game, and it's going to be tough to beat us if we can get to the playoffs and play like that. We look all right.
Yeah, Buffalo, I mean, outside of never winning the Super Bowl, they actually have some really good regular seasons.
Mm-hmm.
One other good friend of mine who used to be in mortgages, huge Buffalo fan. I actually went to a game with him in Buffalo a few years back. Fan base was really crazy. It was fun. Buffalo Wings at Anchor Bar. If you're a Buffalo person, Anchor Bar is where Buffalo Wings began. Amazing Buffalo Wings. The town, a little bit dreary for my liking. It's not too much going on in that town outside of a casino, and you're near Canada. And so that's always fun going over the border to Canada because Niagara Falls is nice.
Yeah.
But as far as football goes, Pittsburgh Steelers keep winning. Don't understand that.
That surprised me this year, but there's somebody I'd root for. I like the underdog. I like the underdog situation.
So my thing is how can you root against Mike Tomlin?
I don't know.
All that guy has ever done in the NFL is win. He has 0 losing seasons coaching the Pittsburgh Steelers, and he's gone through changes. So what that tells me is this guy is a Hall of Fame coach. He knows what he's doing. He's got a 75-year-old quarterback in Russell Wilson winning games. He's got an amazing defense. They're just doing it right. I don't know how they're doing it, but they're winning. And, there's outside of Pittsburgh, Buffalo, and KC, I think those are the front runners. I did think the Ravens were going to do something this year, but all of a sudden they don't look so good. Harbaugh, in my opinion, not a good coach. He, maybe he used to do some things right. His clock management is probably as bad as Mike McCarthy, and that's not saying a lot. So that's a bad thing. So it could be anyone's game. I'm still not going to give the Eagles props yet in the NFC. They did beat the Commanders. They did beat the Commanders, but they're just not. They're not. I think Detroit is the front runner in the NFC to do something. I think the whole NFC is just up for grabs. You just don't know what's happening. Also, the Giants finally benched Danny Dimes. They realized he's only Danny Nichols. And so they had to bench him for Danny DeVito's cousin, Tony DeVito. So things are just changing in New York. The Jets are a S show. It's just insanity right now. There's a lot of really good teams in the NFL and a lot of really bad teams, including my ex-team, the Dallas Cowboys.
Yeah.
But on the better things, the New York Rangers continue to win. They are going to finally win the Stanley Cup this year because I can't have 2 teams that I've been following for so long not do anything for 30 years. It's starting to get boring, and I'm starting to feel like a Bills fan. The Alex Ovechkin, good Lord, he's the Russell Wilson of hockey. All he's doing at his age is going out and scoring goals. He has like 15 on the year or whatever. At this pace, he may take over Gretzky's record this year. That's pretty impressive. I mean, I've never seen anything like that. At his age, he's skating around and leading and scoring. At my age, I barely get out of bed. NBA, once again, who cares? Baseball, once again, who cares? So that's
Mike
where we
Tyson,
are.
Jake Paul, man. Did you watch that? Did you watch the Tyson Paul fight?
That was more fixed than any horse race I've ever seen in
You
my
think it
life.
was? I think it's just he was so old that, like,
No.
I mean, Jake Paul didn't really go after him. He could have probably knocked him out and all the things
Mike-
like that. I think it was fixed on his side, not necessarily
Mike Tyson would have beat his ass. Mike Tyson was biting his glove half the time because he wasn't allowed to punch him.
You think?
If you watch the slow-mo of a lot of times when Jake Paul was wide open for a punch, Tyson was in there and he held back. Tyson could have hit him. Vegas controls boxing like they do horse racing. And right now, if they really would have fought, I mean, from what I was hearing about the training of both of those fighters, Tyson looked amazing, not just for his age. He looked amazing in training for this. And Jake Paul kind of looked lackluster. I really believe that fight was fixed. And I think the money in Vegas talked, and that's kind of what happened.
I didn't. I noticed the biting of the gloves, and I noticed that I know that first off, the commentator that was abysmal, dude. I could barely listen to everybody talk about the fight. That was awful. But I think Sugar Ray or Roy Jones was right about his legs. He didn't seem like he was very stable. You know what I mean? Like he could throw punches or whatever, but if he tried to move, it was very 60-year-oldish.
Yeah, I mean, I get it, but if you watch the videos and see the slow-mo of what was going on, you'll see there was a lot of periods where Tyson could have easily unleashed the fury on him.
He said, I've got a biting fetish, and I'm like,
ask
about that. That was fun. I'm like, well, yeah, you could ask Evander about that, right?
Yeah, he knows firsthand or first ear what that's about.
Yeah. Guys, go ahead, Craig. I'm sorry. I know we're everybody 15 minutes, so
we're over our limit at this point. I know people love watching us because we're entertaining and that's great. But We don't want to take up more of your time on.
We don't. And look, I want to say, I know we talked about the rate check and that kind of things and volatility. No one knows what's going to happen from day to day. Even the Fed, you have the Fed say one thing, and then you have the Boston Fed chair and the Chicago Fed chair adding in. Nobody knows at this point. And if anything, taken into account with what the Fed's going to do, the Fed did not control mortgage rates the last time that they made a decision. So don't bank on whatever the Fed plans to do impacting mortgage rates. The most important thing you can do is reach out to someone that's going to give you the best advice, that is competitive and cares about finding the right payment for you, I think, above anything else. Rates are going to be the rates. We know that we're competitive there. The goal is to come in and find out where you're comfortable and then start looking at the houses in that price range. We can always make decisions once you own a house to put you in a better position in the future. So thanks for joining us, guys. Jake again. Craig, thanks, brother. We'll see you guys.
Thank you. Have a good week. See you.